In the shadowy corridors of Mughal palaces, where silk whispers and anklets chime, power was a deadly game. While women couldn't rule openly, they ruled nonetheless. History remembers the emperors, but empires were built by women too. While men made grand decisions in public courts, women made decisions in private. And those private decisions often mattered more. This was the Zenana, the women's world. A golden cage, beautiful, powerful, and absolutely forbidden to outsiders. No man except the emperor could enter. The punishment for intrusion was death. Her name was Hamida Banu Begum. She was only 14 when she married a fugitive emperor, Hamida. There was no palace, no grand celebration, just the grim reality of survival. Months later, 9 months pregnant, she rode through the harsh Thar desert. She gave birth to her son, the future emperor Akbar, in a stranger's tent. No royal physicians, no comfort, just sand, pain, and uncertainty. Holding her newborn, she whispered, "You were born with nothing, my son, but I will give you everything." During their years in Persian exile, while Hamida learned the arts of war, Hamida learned diplomacy. She befriended Persian queens, understood their politics, and mastered the subtle language of power. More importantly, she prepared her son for a throne he didn't yet possess. She was not just a mother, she was training a future ruler. When they finally returned to India after 15 years, she entered Delhi not as a refugee, but as an empress. The girl who gave birth in a tent had become the most influential woman in India. While men wrote histories filled with wars and conquests, one woman wrote about the truth. Her name was Gulbadan Begum, daughter of the first Mughal emperor Babur and sister to Humayun. At the request of her nephew Akbar, she did something unprecedented for a Mughal woman. She wrote history. Her book, the Humayun, is the only female-authored historical text from that period. She didn't just record events, she wrote about family dynamics, palace intrigues, and the emotional truths that male historians ignored. At 60, she undertook the dangerous pilgrimage to Mecca, staying for 7 years to learn and write. Upon her return, she was treated not just as royalty, but as a sage. Without her, the human side of the mighty Mughals would be lost to us forever. The Zenana was not a single room. It was an entire world. It housed hundreds of women, wives, concubines, daughters, sisters, aunts, servants, and female guards. One palace, infinite politics. In this world, rank mattered fiercely. The emperor's first wife, the Padshah Begum, held supreme authority. She controlled budgets, approved marriages, and decided fates. But this beauty hid a brutal reality. Rivalries were common, and poison was a convenient tool. The greatest power a woman could hold was motherhood. Because the mother of the next emperor would become the most dangerous woman in the entire empire. When Akbar became emperor at just 13, he was a child. Someone had to rule for him. That someone was Maham Anga. She was not a queen, not an empress, not even of noble birth. She was his wet nurse. Akbar trusted her more than anyone, and for 4 years she ruled India through him. She appointed generals, dismissed ministers, and decided policies. She even made her own son a general, but he used his power badly. One day, he murdered a minister right in front of the young emperor. In that moment, the boy was gone. Akbar, now 16, looked at the woman who had raised him, who he called mother, and made his choice. "He is a murderer," he declared, "and I am emperor." Her son was executed, and Maham Anga's power was broken. She died 40 days later, not just of grief, but because her time was over. The boy she made an emperor had to let her go to truly rule. Contrary to popular belief, Mughal women were not ignorant prisoners. Royal daughters received extensive educations. They studied languages, literature, history, religion, and the arts. The Zenana had its own libraries, scholars, and a vibrant intellectual life. Music and poetry flourished. with women composing their own verses and debating philosophy. They were veiled from the world, but they understood it perfectly. In this empire, marriage was not about love. It was about warfare. Daughters were diplomatic tools, their marriages securing peace and forging alliances. Personal desires meant nothing. The dynasty meant everything. Each wedding was a treaty signed in silk and gold. And when alliances broke, so did marriages. Women were currency, spent and discarded as politics demanded. But clever women learned to play this game. They became bridges between kingdoms, acting as secret ambassadors, their letters smuggled out in coded messages. Information was power, and these women controlled its flow. The Zenana was both paradise and prison. The women wore silks from China and diamonds from Golconda. They bathed in rosewater and ate food that was a culinary masterpiece. They had private entertainment, private luxury, and private power. But they could never leave. Not without permission, not without an escort, not without control. When they did travel, it was in covered palanquins, seeing the world only through a curtain of fabric. It was a beautiful, suffocating, golden cage. History barely mentions them. In books, they are footnotes, wives of, mothers of, daughters of. But if you dig deeper, you find their fingerprints everywhere. The artistic renaissance of the Mughal period. Women were the patrons. The architectural wonders that still stand. Some were their commissions. The alliances that shaped history. They arranged them. And the greatest emperor India ever knew, Akbar, was raised by a woman who survived exile to make him great. They couldn't sit on the throne, but they shaped the men who did. History is written by those who are seen, but empires are built by those who see. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more hidden histories.